Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Jean-Michel Polyakov, better known as Michael Kell, a man with many titles. And I got her. The most recent title is the sender of a beautiful birthday e-card for me. Thank you so much. I know we spoke last week on my birthday, and I didn't get to open it up until just yesterday. Thank you for sharing those words and the poem with me that we just talked before we went on air. I appreciate that. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I appreciate you and all the nice things you do.
Thank you so much. I try. Please come here. It's all about you. You're so sweet. Always a great conversation with you. Man of many titles. Could you read off the amount of things you are on a hand? No, probably more,
Oh,
right?
that's difficult. Very difficult.
I've learned a lot about you, really, and it's great to have you here. And thank you for joining us. To start today, just say hello to your listeners and just give us a little bit of your background. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I go with different names depending on what.
I know. Go ahead. There's so many.
And one day I'll tell you my angelic name, but not today. But what I'm trying to do right now is to reactivate a Esther school I had for a long time. But then I got waylaid into medical research because it was saving lives and helping doctors. And so I want to get back to it and in a different way. Because what I learned from that experience and prior experiences in various organizations is that, you know, it's like spirituality is a meritorious hierarchy. Okay. And, you know, and so you have to have certain qualifications in order to move up to a different level. Okay. And that's okay, because if you just get to whatever level you're meant to be, then you get some more chances.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what I found, though, if you want to really be serious and teach spirituality in a short time, which is underlying all religions, you know, spiritual teachings, you have to find people that are successful in life in some other area, some other major area, you know, and usually in our society, that's people who have made good money, but they're not happy. They're not satisfied. You know, they feel like, you know, it's good making money and stuff, but that's I don't feel like I'm doing my life's purpose.
Yeah.
And so I need to find these people, because it's not that hard to teach them, because I know they're perseverant. Yeah. And you can skip a lot of details that aren't really important if you want to look ahead and really get this idea in mind. So that's what I do. I mean, other than irritate the government, which I like to do, you know, and big companies, which takes a lot of time and effort. It doesn't always work out very well, but that's okay, because you learn. And you know, so to be honest, I mean, as you know, I'm on the show to rebrand myself, make myself more public, because I'm actually a pretty quiet person in many ways, even in big octaves. And so that's what I'm doing here, thanks to you. Yeah. And I hope it works, which I think it hopefully will. Just got to see how. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about, and I don't know, you know, your audience that well. You know, I imagine since if they're mainly female and you know, and self-orientated, you know, they like poems, they like spirituality, they like writings, they like philosophy, probably, some of them, or at least willing and open to it. You know, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And I have a poem somewhere, but I don't have it with me today. But maybe I'll read it one time about the misconceptions of the world and how God metaphorically fixed it based on the Tower of Babel, which I translated and moved to India, where that battle with it happened in the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. Wow.
And so the problem is that most people don't realize how special sentient beings are, and in our solar system as humans. Okay. And so what the real purpose of humans to do is, other than maintain nature and make things move along, and we don't kill each other and destroy the world, is that humans are one of the few creatures that are able to create new possibilities. That's why spirituality and mysticism talks about them being co-creators with God. And humans, in terms of our solar system, are the main agent responsible for creating what I call the Onarian world, which is Greek for dream world. And it's the same world that people dream in individually, but it's much vaster than people ever realized. And what people do, at least certain people, storytellers do this, who create new worlds, aphysical worlds. And they're formless, but they take on form, just so we can't realize it or see it with our objective tools in this universe, but you can't experience it. if you know about it. And so one of the questions that comes up a lot is that some people believe they're spirits. I mean, the ancients believed they were spirits. Yeah, water spirits, fire spirits, air spirits, earth spirits, elementals. And and trees are animated, and waterfalls are animated. They have a nymph, usually a female there, a nymph with it. That's the spirit of that tree, or the spirit, the higher one spirit of trees. This is really, really ancient, before religion really began, because mankind understood nature as an emanation of something spiritual. May not have that word, spiritual. And so everything was alive, and everything had agency. Just like, I can hit somebody or get hit by somebody. Well, wind is an agent. The tree is an agent, which means it does something. And people in those days could experience those levels of consciousness that mankind has created, or at least can deal with. And so, since I do tell the truth, mainly on the show, to my best of my understanding, is that if people were willing to acknowledge that there might be spirits and the dream worlds might be real, and you might have some idea of how to get to them and stay in them, and actually create or begin interacting in a particular dream story, life is a lot more rich, a lot richer. And so to help you understand this, spirit things, is I'm going to just tell you some things that have happened in my life, which are really, really quite strange. But it's only strange that if you don't realize that other entities exist. And I'm not talking about Satan and the devils and demons that do exist, but they're not really allowed to interface this world. They can influence it. But possessions and stuff is really not by them. It's by something else. But I remember one time, a long time ago, when I just finished university early, I was going to get drafted. So I was busy at my house in California, my mom's house. And so I got into studying Enochian magic, which was introduced by John Dee in Queen Elizabeth's time, and via the Golden Dawn, which was extinct at that time, but you still can get the books. I luckily found 2 giant volumes in my youth. And so they were extinct. And so Lister Crowley was a notorious mage. But you should read his biography. I mean, he actually seemed to do a lot of nice things, at least what he said, for his enemies. But he was really outrageous. And, morphine addict and a bunch of things. But he started up an organization afterwards called AA. And I don't remember what AA stands for, because it's been too many years. But his secretary was a guy named Israeli Regardi, who actually is well known in the spiritual worlds of metaphysics. And so in those days, he had a telephone, or he had to write letters. So I think I wrote to a publisher of one of his books, and eventually got to Israeli Regardi. I said, look, I'm looking for the AA. And he sent me this very cryptic note back. I said, go talk to this guy. So I went to talk to that guy by writing. And, eventually I ended up in Los Angeles with a person that actually was, I guess in charge, or associated with one of these groups. And so they're always doing occult things, and they always wanted me to get interested. But this is the same time I became interested in mysticism rather than occultism. And mysticism is about finding a personal relationship with deity versus trying to control nature. What's going on? And so I think this is not really what I do. Even though I'd made all this magic stuff up and had some interesting experiences, that he said, "Why don't you come down to our? We're going to raise Beelzebub, invoke him or evoke him, whatever. I think it's evoke." And I go, "Okay," since it was not that far away, 300 miles. So I drove down there, and went to this temple they had, and it was pretty cool because on the floor they would have a pretty big magic ring, and all these glyphs on there, Enochian glyphs and stuff. And when they put the paint in, they mix salt with it, rock crystal salt. And it's oil, so when it dissolves, so it was a salted thing too, just like on Supernatural, with Sam and Dean. Okay, except you could blow away salt, so it's sort of stupid. But in any case, so I said, okay, fine. And so sure enough, they did their Enochian evocation, okay? And sure enough, of all people, it appeared in that circle. That circle is isolated from the rest of the universe. And so, so it was Beelzebub. That wasn't his actual name, but that's what Mayfield, I think his name was. And so, so they turned to me and said, "What do you think, Michael?" I said, "Well, this is easy to explain in some ways, but it's hard to prove either way." So I said, "You guys are really good imaginators. You make images really, really well. That's the key to magic. You have to go actually see something in your mind and project it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it could very well be just a figment of our combined imagination.
True.
From your perspective, or it could be actually who you say it is."
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, "I'll show you something and you can decide." So I walk into the circle and Angel goes, "Well, I haven't seen you around for a long time." To me. And I go, "Yeah, I know. I mean, after the war and stuff, I didn't hang around with you guys at all anymore." And I've been on Earth for a long time. And he goes, "Longer than the New Testament." "Yeah, I mean, Old Testament. Yeah, a lot longer than that." And he goes, "You with the Watchers?" I go, "Yeah, I was one of them." And he goes, "You like the women of the Earth?" I go, "Yeah, I adored them." So I'm stuck here now, which is okay. And, and so I knew him. See, so it's just one of the little details from my 3-year-old when God said, "You're my best angel, one of my best helper angels," which people can think I'm crazy, or they can think I'm insane, but it doesn't matter. These are the experiences I have had myself, and that's verification enough. Although I would never make anyone else, but they have to accept it. They have to find out themselves. So that's just one incident about spirits and stuff. And another one, which is really strange, was when I was doing the Enochian magic. I was a young guy, so I was thinking, I need to evoke a succubus. I didn't know much about him, and so in case it actually worked, but wasn't interesting. And so I was in the second episode about that, and so it's been linking here is these things have been linking up in my imagination. When I started writing, which is the interesting thing, is I think you might ask me a while back and stuff like, how do I write? Because most authors make outlines and describe their characters and stuff, right? It's very well thought out. And they go, and I said, well, I don't really know, but I was thinking about the other day, and actually, I write like I speak. I write like you speak. I write like everyone speaks. Because when you want to, ask me a question, I mean, something about the subject, but you don't think of your question in your brain first. It comes out. It just happens to come out, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're talking to our friends, even for serious things, based on what we know, our brain just puts it all together. It comes right out. And if you stand back a little bit, you can actually watch it. Your mouth kind of working, saying really wise things or stupid things, and you're not really doing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so we're really automatic, which is good. And so that's how I write. I decided, as I go someplace or have an idea, and I just let my inner self in my brain just create it. Which seems to me creative, okay? It's not necessarily creative. And so when I started writing stories and creating these worlds, they became extremely real to me. I mean, the characters are real. They took on their own characteristics. I'd see them. I just describe what I see, or what I feel or what's going on. And, and so I finally decided that these worlds, which are in the dream world, are created by me, or also added a chapter to somebody creation. Like I wrote the first King Arthur's Knights, Camelot. And so you realize that actually we're created in other worlds, human beings. Now how many of them actually last? As long as the person's alive, they probably last. But the key is to make it more permanent, just like making your soul more permanent. And so when I write these stories, all this wise stuff comes out. Occasionally I have to go back and edit and change a little bit because it wasn't clear. But like when I go to read my books, it's like I never saw them before. I mean, I know who the characters are, but I've never saw them before. And I was reading one that I think I mentioned, which is it's called The Spiritual Teachings of Gabriel Valiant, which is probably a lousy title. So I might call it like Adventures with the Rose Squaw. I need something better. And so I was reading through the story and stuff, and I go, well, this story's really interesting. I can follow right along it. I can be whatever I want and stuff. And then I came across a place where he's, the character's explaining to a student what's going on. I go, oh, I remember that. That's true. I forgot that was true. And so what happens in the books I write is there's all this deep knowledge, spiritual knowledge, that automatically shows up. I mean, it's not like it's channeled. Okay, it just shows up. And that's why I'm having a problem, because working with some other people who want me to, figure out like who writes like I write.
Mm-hmm.
On Amazon and stuff, so you can get into those people's groups and advertise yourself, which I don't like to do, but I may have to. And I'm having trouble figuring it out.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's like Narnia would be a story, okay, even though this is adult stuff, Narnia,
Mm-hmm.
or even like Celestine Prophecy, but at a much lower level, I think. And so there are books out there, and Pablo Coelho, whatever his name is, or
Oh,
Coelho, I don't know how to say
my
it.
camera just popped off. That's weird. Hold on.
The screen is much better with you in it.
There we go. Thank you. It happened one other time before. It flashed off. So I was thinking, did I hit a button by accident? It's possible. It's possible.
It just happens. That's right. Anything possible can happen.
Yep. We'll go.
Which
I'm
actually is
back.
something
I'm
interesting to
back.
come up too. And it's not a mathematical thing, but
What?
sort of interesting to talk about, which is off the subject, but
Okay.
it's so important. In classical, probability, if something won't happen, they give it a zero, a really, really small number, okay? And and if something's going to happen for sure, they give it a one.
Mm-hmm.
So the probability of us talking right now on every Monday coming up, for how long it is, it's not one, but it's pretty close to one.
Yeah.
Because somebody can have an issue to deal with.
Uh-huh.
And and so when I was thinking about it, I'm saying this is not right, because
Mm-hmm.
there's things that are possible and there's things that are truly impossible in our universe.
True.
That you can't think to be impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is probability changes with time, which all the mathematics is forgotten about. And I'll give you a good example. The probability of Leonardo da Vinci making an airplane like the Wright brothers at that time wasn't zero. It was like a negative number. And so something totally impossible at a mathematical scale, it could be minus one. Anything that's less than zero won't happen now. If it's minus
Mm-hmm.
one, it never happens. But if it's down there moving on, it won't happen. But if you think about life, all these inventions mankind has done and all these changes we've made, they were impossible. They actually wasn't a probability, wasn't zero. It was less than zero, because if you're going to be a time list, only can talk about probability right now. It's possible and impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I discovered, if you put time in there, I think it makes much more sense than just do it the classical way. And so it wasn't time for Leonardo da Vinci. Time had come along with motors and other things, inventions, to the Wright brothers to make an airplane.
Yeah.
See, but you think about that, well, that means some people are doing a lot of thinking, about other subjects that are going to come together one day as a new possibility. You see, and so if you say, well, it wasn't a possibility for plane flight before the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
But sometime before the Wright brothers, it went into the zero region. Then 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 got closer and closer.
Mm-hmm.
See, and so Gurdjieff used to say that one of the purposes of mankind is to create new possibilities for the Sun Absolute, which would refer to God. It manifests in our universe. You see,
Mm-hmm.
and so in a sense, people create new things that weren't
Yeah.
in the system necessarily by how they behave and how they act and what they think based on what's going on in the past. Which means that we can do a lot of things that we think we can't do. It's a temporal thing.
Yeah.
You see, and if you include time in it, and time may be a fast thing, but you include time in it, you have some hope. Right? Because most of us suffer from time, but most of us never even live in the present. Right?
True.
We're either ruminating about the past, which doesn't exist anymore, except in our memories, or imagine what the future would be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine what the future would be could be useful because you can create a attractor to pull you towards it.
Yeah.
But you got to be in the present, like Paul says. Be in the present. Well, a lot of people say be in the present. Buddha said it. It's not unique to him, but to actually live in the present, because the present is the only time you have. And our present is like maybe 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
How long it takes for a brain to put in, how long it takes for the brain to put information in. You experience it, and it takes it to unload itself so the screen of consciousness can fill again. It's like a TV screen, kind of,
Yeah.
except it's not really a screen. And so people should be much more hopeful than they are. that given time and given study, given some work, they can actually change with their new, change what's going to come into the ever moving present.
Yeah.
The present moves along, and we're aware of it, and then something put new information in there, but you can control hopefully what information comes in the future. And so it doesn't make too much sense to be depressed for too long. Plus, you never know what's going to happen,
No, it's true.
But but there are these words out there, and I mean, Christianity talks about them, Islam talks about them, they call them angels and devils, or elementals in the Greeks. And, and so I don't know what the bias is in materiality, materialism, to deny something just because they can't prove it physically. Right? And if we didn't have a camera, guess what? It never been filmed a long time ago. You can never say you can't take a picture. You paint one, but you can't make one exact picture.
Yeah.
And given time, they went through the whole process to develop it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just reminiscing. So, spirituality is, more than anything, why we call spirituality for is the word spirits.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize is that it's hard to be formless in our world. But anything outside our world, even our mind, is formless. It's like vibratory, like the mystics say. Mm-hmm. And so all the aphysical worlds are formless by nature, but they take form when you're in them. And if you become a storyteller, it's your story. You create the story. Mm-hmm. But it just seems like by telling it, you created it, at least the manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do we have? 2 minutes? 3 minutes?
Good.
But put that aside for a second. I know I'm a little rambling here today. That was to avoid reading. And but I want to tell you something very funny, about things, about life. Is I told you about Richard Gerlach, my friend and I, that went around, traveled around the universe, meeting people, seeing aliens, whatever. And and he said, "Well, you see that?" I go, "Yeah, I see it. What's it look like?" It's like, "But that's what it looks like." Now you believe in aliens? I go, "No."
Yeah.
I'm having a physical experience, so I can't believe it or not believe it. I can just experience it. But one time we were used to communication with dolphins, which I mentioned, I think. Mm-hmm. And so he was going down to Southern California, the Baja Peninsula, and he wanted to go someplace with a big pod of dolphins down there because apparently he saw dolphins down there. He goes, "Michael, where should I go?" And I go, "Richard, why are you asking me for? Why would I even know where you should go?" It's just like when I did my past life. It didn't feel like it was me. I just knew things. He goes, "Yeah, but I trust you." And I go, "So you want me to make up a story for you so you can go down and experience the story?" He goes, "That'd be good." Okay, yeah. So I said, "Okay, Richard, go down to Baja California, and you're going to find this little village called this name. I don't think I've told this story before. With this particular name, which I don't remember what it was. And, it's going to be by the ocean and right by these hills and stuff. And it described pretty good detail. And then you got to look for a fisherman named Mario." And he said, "Okay, I'll do it." So he drove down to where I said. Sure enough, there's a village there. It looked like the one I described. Yeah. And he said, went down to the fisherman, went and asked, "Is Mario here?" And he goes, "Well, no, Mario died last week." Mm-hmm. But he had a son, Pedro, who knows where he used to go fishing all the time because we all have our special little secret places. And so I went to talk. So he went to spoke with Pedro, and Richard spoke Spanish, and so he asked him about the dolphin pod that he fought. And so he took him out there, and he spent like a week swimming with dolphins, communicating with them psychically, and came back. So it was like a 2-week trip. So he came back. So I met him. I said, "Richard, how'd your trip go?" Because just like you said, I think I've been kidding. It was just like I said. And he goes, "Exactly." Mm-hmm. There's a few things you didn't mention that happened, which were good. But how do you know? He goes, "How do you know these things?" I said, "I didn't know it. I made it up." Mm-hmm. Which is one explanation, okay? Or since I could look forward in time and be a seer, but I don't think I am. And so people, I think, do this a lot. Mm-hmm. And they actually are creating what's going to happen. And as long as the universe is antagonistic towards it, you can do it. And it's a very strange thing. But humans are extremely powerful creatures. And fortunately, they're vacillating the will, or they do a lot more damage than they do.
Mm-hmm.
But things that seem like can't happen, they want to call paranormal, happen for very good reasons. So we are creators, and we can create anything that's possible given the right circumstances.
Yeah.
This is why people visualize the improvement in their lives and are willing to work for it and sacrifice for it. They can get it. It might happen tomorrow. It might happen 3 days from now. It might happen in a year. But I think, whatever your circumstances are, I don't think you want to waste your existence. And God's generous. It's just the only thing you have to do when you die, you have to look back and say, you did okay. I did an okay job.
Yeah.
Feeling a lot better now, better eyes, but I did an okay job.
Exactly.
That's all it takes. Because everybody can't do the same things, and people work at big office, little office.
Wow.
So that's my ramblings for today, my dear.
Well, I appreciate your ramblings. Thank you so much. Would you mind sharing how we could reach out to you, please? Thank you.
Yes. Actually, I got a new email because I got a new project.
Okay.
And the email is real simple. It's support at the Grail exercises, like the Holy Grail, the Grail exercises.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you again for my e-card. And when is your birthday again? I will never remember. I just don't have a brain to remember. It's probably
my birthday or your birthday?
Your birthday.
My birthday is All Saints Day.
I don't even know when All Saints Day is. When is it?
November 1st.
April? When?
November 1st.
November. All right. So we missed it. So I hope
Today
we're still
after
talking.
Halloween.
Oh,
Today after Halloween.
That's right. That's right. All right.
And I was born in Saudi Arabia. At the time I was born, it was Halloween in the United States.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So I got a little devil in me and a little demon.
Thank you so much. You have a fantastic day, Michael. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Bye, sweetheart.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.